Although Preston's not here anymore, so next year.
Coming up live on YouTube, yeah, right? We're live on YouTube. Mike's screen, please. And whenever you're ready, Mr. President.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Village of Ruidoso workshop meeting. It's May 4th, 2021, and 8 o'clock. If you'll join me, we'll have a moment of silence, and then we'll do the pledge. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol, with perfect friendship among united cultures. All right, thank you, everybody. There's a lot going on down here at the convention center. We still have our fire crews out. A lot of folks running around. I know they're supposed to be winding down a little bit. That's what we heard yesterday from the incident commander. So we will proceed. Roll call, please, Mr. Santa.
Good morning, everyone. Mayor Crawford.
Here.
Councilor Letterman.
Here.
Councilor Eby.
Here.
Councilor Cornelius.
Here.
Councilor Coughlin.
Here.
Councilor Jackson.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mayor.
All right, thank you. We have a long agenda today, so we'll go through all the different items. And if Councilor Coughlin will keep his comments to a minimum, we might get out of here before noon. So we'll start with item number 1, discussion on memorandum of understanding between the Village of Ruidoso and the County of Lincoln for provision of regulation services and residential and commercial construction within certain specified areas of the County of Lincoln. And yes, ma'am.
Good morning, everyone. This is the annual renewal with the county for us to issue the building permits for the selected boundary, which is basically Cedar Creek, Alpine Village, all the way to the intersection of Highway 37 and Highway 48. There are no changes. Well, there's one change. I requested that we keep this on a fiscal year renewal as opposed to sometime in July. So that was the change that was made.
Okay, does anybody have any questions?
Where's 37 to 48? I thought they were the same.
48,
Near
37.
Angus.
Angus Hill and 37,
Okay,
40.
right there, right, okay.
Okay, how about consent? Okay, Ron? Item number 2, discussion on agreement with Muni Revs, Inc. to provide short-term rental, identification, compliance, permitting, and lodger's tax collection information on a web-based form. Go ahead.
So this company approached us. They provided a demo and they offer many additional features that we're not getting with host compliance currently. The cost is significantly less, around $23,000 less a year. In addition, they offer the auditing component that will show us which properties have blocked out their calendars and how much they potentially should be remitting in lodger's tax a month. Additionally, they make it a little bit simpler for our property managers that manage numerous amounts like Condotel and Cozy Cabins, those larger ones. It would allow them to check out all at once with their properties as opposed to having to log in and do one by one. To me, it seems better, more customer friendly. Ever since host compliance was acquired by Granicus, now they're down to only one original employee from host compliance, and this level of service has gone way down. We're seeing a lot of misidentified properties that's been time consuming, and if the letter goes out, it's not a good look for us. So I think that making the switch will help us improve our accuracy as well.
And you had some people from the locals from the business that reviewed it.
Yes, sir.
And all that, and they seemed to, yeah, that's fine, and that they liked it too. So anyways, anybody have any questions?
Mayor, I just have one statement. You know, when you look at the pricing, it's a substantial savings. And when Samantha informed host compliance that we were switching, they said, "Oh, we can meet that pricing." And it was like, well, why?
I always love it when they do that after asking.
Can you go back and lower?
Yeah, that's,
Is this, go ahead.
Samantha, I've got a question. So the data that we currently have in the database, can that be easily exported and then imported into the new software?
Yes, we'll be transferring that out as well. They can put it into an Excel spreadsheet and then populate the new software.
Okay.
So we'll be bringing that over.
Consent or regular? Consent. Okay, very good. Thank you, Samantha. Next is item number 3, discussion on 1-year extension of small purchase agreement with the agency professional services for design team. And do we have anybody on this?
That one's mine as well. This is with the agency for them to do the design services. She has 3 contracts with us, so this is the first of 3. Is Zach there?
Nope.
Okay. So we are just asking to renew this for 1 additional year. Do y'all have any questions for me?
I don't have any. Nope. You want the consent or regular items? Consent. Okay, item number 4, thank you, Sam. Discussion on 1-year extension of small purchase agreement with the agency for professional services for tourism, publicity, PR, consultant services.
And this is the same situation as well. This is for the agency to offer tourism publicity for lodgers tax and maintain a media database, bloggers, coordinate all of that social media stuff.
Any questions? Nope. Consent?
Yep.
Thank you. Item number 5, discussion on award of IFB 2020-004B to General Hydronics Concrete LLC and agreement for Cree Meadows Trail construction in the amount of $578,359.00, including gross receipts tax. Rodney?
Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning.
Councilors.
Morning.
So this is the bid for the project, the construction of Cree Meadows Trail. The project bids did come in higher than anticipated and higher than the available balance. And it's due to, I'm sure, several issues, but a lot of construction costs are going up at this time. And so that's a partial reason behind it. There's also a requirement from DOT to have 24 supervision of project management on site for the full duration of the project. And so we're roughly, I have the exact number in the budget, but it's roughly around $128,000 more than the available grant funding and the village's match. So I have visited with the engineer and the New Mexico Department of Transportation to review all opportunities to consider cost savings of the project to bring that number down. And so staff looked at multiple ways of cost savings. And again, we reviewed those with both the engineer and DOT. There are several options. One of the options is just basically rebidding the project, which would delay it. I'm not certain that would bring the cost down to any of the project with construction costs and materials continuing to increase. Another option is to shorten the length of the project and to not complete it in its entirety, which when I reviewed that with Department of Transportation, that's just something that they do not recommend They want to see projects completed and not leave it partially, because you would have to request additional funding in the future, and it's a very lengthy process. We looked at also removing line items from the project, and as I had previously mentioned, it's a pretty bare bones project. All of the items that have been designed and included in this project are necessary for it to be completed. There's not really any trail amenities or anything that can be removed. It's just purely trail construction, an asphalt trail with included signage and ADA compliances. So there's not really any opportunity to cut any items out of it. We also did look at possibly providing chips or millings in replacement of the base course required of the project, because apparently the village has some millings on hand. That could potentially be an option. However, you would again have to rebid the project, because that has to be included in the bid packet. The other option of cost savings is if the village could provide an individual who could be there on site for the duration of the project to perform the construction oversight. I don't believe we have the manpower or the expertise in our department to provide an employee who could perform those services. Not sure if there's another position within the village that has that, but there's not that I'm aware of. And so what I'm getting at is I believe that I've exhausted all of the, and evaluated all the opportunities for cost savings, other than just flat out rebidding the project. And so, I would like the governing body to consider possibly coming up with the funding to cover that shortage on the funding. And I'll stand for any questions if I was unclear about anything.
Okay, we have a question. Go ahead.
Rodney, I'm kind of unclear on the money aspect. So the bid amount is $578,359, and in here it's saying that the current grant balance plus our match is $560. So where is the extra $128,000 needed? I'm seeing more like $28,000.
So I apologize, Counselor. The proposal for the construction management and oversight is not included, and that is $100,000.
Holy cow.
And one of the things that Rodney's done is looked at all the other options that we could do to possibly save money, but a lot of it shifted liability back to us. And then with the federal funds and the things that we're looking at using, they're pretty stringent. The oversight will be responsible for making sure that the temperature of the material, the compaction, the installation of the material meets all their scales so that the warranty issues are there. And so you want to touch just a little bit, Rodney, on what that 100,000 covers, because it's pretty extensive.
Yes, sir. So again, the majority of it is actually the cost of having an employee or having an individual on site, because they're responsible of quality control over the entire project. And so again, they have to be well-versed in the federal requirements of the project. And then there is multiple testing required, as the mayor had mentioned, on asphalt, compaction, concrete work, all of that. There's a lot of testing involved also. There's a line item for testing alone. There's a line item quantity of around $10,000 that's required a bit. But again, these projects are very there's a high level of specifications and requirements on the federal highway programs. So a lot of it is associated with having that project management on site for the full duration of the project.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Judy would have to tell us if we have the money to do it, but I think rebidding it would be a mistake.
Yep, I agree.
It's down and stuff's not on the way down, it's all on the way up right now, materials.
And this is one of those projects that, we've been talking about it for a long time. I do not want to see us not finish this, but go halfway and let it sit there. That would upset me very much.
So go ahead, Financial Department, tell us where the money's at.
So you do have three options that you can fund it out of the general fund. You could, as everyone knows, we've met budget on GRT with 2 months to go, so we could increase the gross receipts tax budget, therefore increasing the match to the grant. Or you could actually take it from residual CARES Act funding. There's about 700,000 there. Or you can actually take it just from cash balance out of the general fund, since it is a one-time expenditure, which would be a prudent use of cash balance. So those would be three options.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
Judy, can you update the financial impact, include the testing and observation services, and then put those three options in the agenda memo? And then that way we can recommend it on the regular items and the council
Okay.
can make a decision next
I think I
week.
did include the options and the exact amount of the deal on the agenda memo. But is the testing part, we can add it on there.
Okay, if you'll update that and then they can make a decision next
Sure.
week. Thank you, Judy.
Should we move that mic over to them so that they can have a way to talk? We don't have anyone on the podium today, do we?
No.
That way they're not running back and forth. I'm gonna get a little tabletop stand for them.
Or they can just,
There.
Go ahead.
Isn't the testing in the contract already?
Mayor, Counselor, the company has to perform testing, but for the quality assurance, we have to have a separate person that's doing the observation and testing on our behalf.
Okay, but, well, whoever's the observer isn't qualified to do the testing on compaction. They can look at the machine and verify, but they can't do it.
Yeah, they actually do their own sampling and everything on these projects, the observers, to confirm the test results and whatnot. There's even, on these projects, there's even a certain level that they have to use, and the contractor has to follow those specifications, and the observer has to have that same. So the documentation goes back and forth with it. The slopes and, I think Ron's worked on one of these federal projects as well, and the observation on these are just, the requirements are very high level, like Rodney said. Right, Ron?
It's strictly observation, it's not doing the actual testing.
I haven't seen the actual scope, but, there's a lot that they do perform with that observation.
Mayor Crawford, Councilor Cornelius, with the Federal Highway Administration, with those type of funds, you have to follow those strict guidelines, and they have to make sure they meet the compaction, and any work that they do are there at the requirements by the Federal Highway.
Yeah.
And Mayor, I think Rodney did say that there's 10,000 in that for testing allowance. So the observers, they're actually, watching the tests being pulled, and they still have a lab that they contract with. He doesn't actually do the lab test itself, but, the part of the observation does get involved with the testing and the performance of the testing as far as, what's being administered there on site.
Why wouldn't the man that's going to overlook it be in the bid? I don't understand that. Why wouldn't they put that in?
So, if I can, Counselor. So that is a responsibility of the village, not through the contract. And so again, the village couldn't perform that work. And so honestly, I wasn't aware of that. Bohannon Houston did let us know that after the fact, and they provided, they wanted to know whether the village could perform those services. Again, I didn't feel that the village had the expertise or the manpower to do that. And so this bid is, or their estimate of the 100,000 is for Bohannon to perform that service outside of the contract,
Okay,
the bid contract. And as Manager Dodge mentioned, they do, or that does include a subcontract with testing labs to perform all that work.
Ron's brother used to do that professionally, huh, Ron? Still does.
And then there will always be the change order, don't forget.
So is that Mr. Mayor, is that something we'll just have to watch going forward? That's something that will be added on?
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Oh, is that something we're going, Mr. Mayor, is that something, Tim, we're just going to have to be aware of going forward for other projects so that we're not blindsided on the backside?
Mayor, Counselor, on the federal projects, observation and testing requirements are a lot more stringent than the state projects. It's just a different level altogether.
No, I mean, should we be more cognizant of that fact so that when we go out for bid, we realize that that may be included in our grant,
Yes, sir.
is my question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we have a grant for how much?
I'm having a hard time hearing today.
Rodney, how much is the grant for?
Mayor, I don't have the financials in front of me. Again, is Judy
Yep.
available? Judy, do you have those numbers?
Yes.
I don't want to say the wrong
Yeah,
information.
Real quick, hold on 1 second.
Because we have a grant, this is in excess of the grant, and then you're saying this figure does not or does include the 128,000.
It's not.
So it's 128,000 plus 578,000.
No. So according to the memo in here, it says the current grant balance is $478,464 plus the match of $81,536 is a total of $560,000. So the bid is $578,359 plus $100,000.
So we should have a item in here for Bohannon Houston for 100 grand. Is that what I'm hearing?
yes?
Yes.
Okay, so we need to add that in, I guess.
Yes, we're gonna add it in right now.
Okay. So Tim just did it.
I would say regular.
Oh, yeah, this is all regular. Okay, so we'll have this one on regular, and then I guess
Same hearing.
we'll have the 100,000 Bohannon Houston right behind it,
Can't hear nothing.
right? Is that right? Somebody tell me I'm right or wrong.
You're right, Mayor.
Okay, because we've been dealing with this for a little while. I just want to make sure that everybody understands we're going to have to come up with 128,000. There's the 100,000 of that is not even listed on this page that I've seen anywhere. So we need to make sure that we have that ready to roll. Okay, this is regular items. Okay. Item number 6 is discussion on task order RFP 2020-005 P-03 with Groundwork Studios for the planning consultation services for a property master plan of the White Mountain Recreation Complex and adjacent properties in an amount not to exceed $108,437.50, including gross receipts tax. And I'd like to thank Bertha for putting all these items, bunching them up where they all flow together so the same presenter gets to run through them. So thank you, Bertha. Item number 6, Rodney.
What about
Mayor and
5?
councilors, so we were previously awarded the funding to perform the property master planning of the White Mountain Recreation Complex. And so this agenda item is assigning the task order to Groundwork Studios to perform that project. And just to, kind of briefly review the scope of work, that is to evaluate all of the village-owned property in the White Mountain area for the addition of additional athletic fields, including, potentially a recreation center, and then items that come up through the public input process, which I'm sure there'll be some interest, as there hasn't been in the past, for pickleball courts, dog parks, parking, items such as that, skate park. But again, none of that has been predetermined, but it is in the scope of work for Groundwork Studios to perform a public input campaign with the community, and as well as working together with the schools to evaluate that property as a whole. And the adjacent property we purchased on Meacham Drive, as well as the 421 Hull property we recently purchased. And I'll entertain any questions if you all have any regarding this proposal.
Anybody have anything? Go ahead, yes, sir, Jackson.
Quickly, Mr. Mayor, Rodney, even though it's in the background and not actually stated, I do think that when you're looking at reconfiguring that area, that there should be something a little more concrete about what you would do with the dog park in the event that were changed or you were expanding your play fields. Because that seems to be that will be something, I can assure you, that will be heavily debated.
Yes, sir.
And I don't think it needs to be in the maybe we will and maybe we can. It's already a debated topic.
Yes, sir. It will, I, as you mentioned, that's going to be one of the key stakeholders in this plan. And so what we have done with the other plans is we have identified those key stakeholders at the project kickoff. And again, as you mentioned, the dog park with the community with baseball, soccer, pickleball, people representing interest in a community center. We will put together a list of all those and take recommendations from the governing body for those positions as well during that process. And so, our goal is to be inclusive of all those members of the community, and so everyone has input on the actual best use of that property.
Well,
Yes, sir.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so prior to the initiation of any of these processes, I start taking down names of interested parties and interested groups, and I've already started, compiling all those potential groups, and that's definitely one of the groups included.
Well, our virtual ad hoc Save the Dog Park group has suggested the west end of that newly acquired property that would affront what used to be that old dirt trail to those corrals and areas for the horses to graze. And it meets about three criteria. Number one, it's out of the way of your ball fields. Number two, it abuts a walking trail. And number three, it's heavily wooded. So that's just a suggestion.
Thank you.
And
I think that you did better than any of our public information, reach out, advertising, radio shows, anything to get the public to know that there was something going on over there. When you took that fence down, that was a real good move.
And the elk, thank you.
Yes. Anybody else have any other questions?
Mayor, I'd recommend, just for transparency on this one, regular item.
Yes, sir. Yep. Okay. Thank you, Rodney. Item number 7, discussion on agreement with National Forest Foundation to allow customers to make voluntary contributions through an opt-out mechanism, $1 with a parking ticket, and an opt-in mechanism of $5 with a season pass purchase to support projects implemented via NFF's Ruidosa Stewardship Fund on the Lincoln National Forest and adjacent public lands. And via the NFFs, Rodney?
Yes, sir.
What is NFFs?
It's the National Forest Foundation.
Okay. It says it right there, doesn't it?
Mayor, councilors, this agenda item is not really a renewal, but it's an annual agreement that the village enters to with the National Forest Foundation for the voluntary donation of $1 towards that fund. The fund is used strictly for improvement projects either on or adjacent to national forest property. As you all may recall, one of the projects or the project that we have funded since the inception of this donation is the trailhead in Mud Canyon, which is an additional access point to the Grindstone Canyon area. This project, that particular project has had some delays due to COVID. And so the goal is to have it open for this summer. But I actually would like for this to be a regular item, as I would like to have the representative from the National Forest Foundation provide an update on the funding and the status of that project. Because I think, again, in the best interest of the village, we need to ensure that these projects are being, vetted thoughtfully and completed in a timely manner. So I'll stand for any questions that you all may have regarding this agreement.
Okay, go ahead.
Could I suggest a change to the term dates? As it is right now, it becomes effective June 10th and then expires June 9th of 2022. And the reason for possibly changing those that date is this is in the middle of our summer season, which is the period where we would be collecting those funds. And I'm thinking towards the future, if anything ever comes up in the future where we want to either increase or decrease those funds that are being given to the NFF, it just makes that summer really awkward because you're going to have potentially a change in the pricing. I would suggest maybe if we extended the date to be after the end of summer, and then that way we've always got an agreement that covers the entire summer period.
I think that's a great suggestion. I believe the reason why we have that date and why we've included that date on the annual agreement is just based upon the timing on the initial funding request. And so we can definitely, if the clerk allows us to edit that item, we can change the date to be more in line.
Mayor, Counselor, with that suggestion, would it be more appropriate to have it at the beginning of the season?
I know, that's what I was thinking.
Well, if we did it at the beginning of the season, whatever the date is, this one here, we would have to extend. So we could extend it to be at the beginning of the 2023 season, either way. But
I'm just suggesting that because later on Rodney is also going to be talking about the park fees. So if we're to make it consistent with that, it'd be the same timing.
Sure, yeah. Because this current agreement wouldn't be possible at the beginning of this summer season, but it could be at the beginning of the next summer season. Whether it's just my thought was just so that it covers a summer season. So yeah, if there's going to be some discussion as far as fees go, then that could be extend it through the beginning of the next, to the beginning of the next summer season.
Mayor Crawford, Councilor Coughlin, I know Zach Cook is online now, but we can get with Rodney on that and look at the dates. And it's an annual agreement, and just adjust the dates as needed.
Yeah, just a one-time adjustment, and then we maintain it 1 year after that.
Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
Judy, how do we pay this? Do we have a separate fund? I mean, so then we just pay in one lump sum?
So, the money that's collected goes into an agency fund because it's not technically our money.
Right.
And so it accumulates, and then, at the end of the season, I believe we cut a check to them.
Got it. Thank you.
Anybody else? Consent or regular?
Regular as Rodney requested.
Okay.
Do we have any idea how much revenue this actually generates? I mean, I'm all in on this.
Yes, sir. So the first year, this is, I think this would be the third year. The first season, which was a shortened season or a short time period, I believe that first year we submitted around like $5,000 or $6,000. But last year, in the short time period where we charged parking, which was Memorial Day through Labor Day, I believe we submitted around $16,000.
Okay, significant.
Yes, and so I would believe that number would continue to be at least similar to the $16,000 based upon our continued high interest in the use at the lake.
Thank you.
And you might have a list of the projects that money went to. You remember when we agreed to do that with forestry?
Yes, sir. And again, that's my request of the representatives to provide all of that information in their presentation.
So we keep that money around our.
Yeah, this is the one that goes around the lakes or where the property abuts. And you remember Jody came in and did a presentation, and
Yeah.
so it's about park benches or whatever in that area. So, but yeah, as long as they talk about the past one so that we can all remember what that was done for. Okay.
Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
Our total payments to NFF have been $36,365.
Over the last 2 years. Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? Item number 8, discussion on adoption of resolution 2021-21, a resolution establishing fees for use of parks and recreation facilities and for services associated with the Parks Department.
Mayor, councilors, this agenda item is the annual review of our fees that were passed by ordinance. The only changes that we are proposing were based upon the tentative Grindstone master plan, and the fee changes include a stepped, a tiered approach to the parking passes at Grindstone Lake. And so we're proposing a decreased pass amount for locals, and then an option for New Mexico residents, and then as well as the daily passes for other individuals that don't qualify for a pass, like visitors to the area. And I'll stand for any questions you may have about the fees ordinance. Resolution, I apologize.
Okay. This will be regular.
Mayor, and I just thought about this now, but I'm kind of reflecting back on, when I've been out there working the lakes, and I hate to put it out there like that, but oftentimes you see veterans come up, and other state parks and national parks allow veterans in. If they see the license plate on a veteran vehicle, they allow them in for free. So I'd make a suggestion that we may consider that for veterans.
Sure, I don't have any issues. Dean? Go ahead, Rodney.
Mayor and councilors, what I would also, and I did not realize that, but so what we have done is we have geared our fees to kind of be more in line with what the state parks offer as well. And so I can look into that information and get some supporting documentation from the state parks on that information for veterans as well.
What's the prices at the end? It starts with KRUI radio station. It has Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. I don't understand what all that is.
That's the fees associated with advertising for the radio.
Okay.
So Rodney, on that advertising, you've got your price there for a 30 or 60-second commercial. Is there a separate fee to create the ad for a customer if needed?
No, there is not.
So then is there a minimum number of ad spots that is required? Or can I go in there and get a 30-second commercial for $10 and KRUI records and produces the entire commercial and I just do one time?
I would like to defer to Jasmine if she's available. I believe she is. Well, maybe she's not.
If you could check on that.
Okay, I'll get those answers for you.
Okay.
Okay.
And then at some point, I think we may need to look at adjusting the price for the pool. I mean, it's been $4 forever, and we know our costs have definitely gone up.
Okay, so regular. Item number 9, discussion on award of RFP 2021-007P to John Shoemaker and Associates, Inc. for hydrological water supply and water rights consulting services. Mr. Boyda?
Mayor Crawford, councilors, so it's been another 4 years. So we re-advertised for our hydrogeological services. And we had a total of 11 firms download the RFP, but only John Shoemaker and Associates actually put in for the proposal. So we've worked with John Shoemaker and Associates for decades, and they've been a valuable member of our water team, and so we look forward to working with them again.
That's that Roger Peary?
Yes, Roger Peary.
Yep. Anybody have any questions on this one? Consent, regular? Consent? Okay, thank you, Mr. Boyda. And if anybody has any questions on their water bill, on the water report that just came out, and if you stumble around in your explanation to the person and you have a problem, call Eric. I talked for 30 minutes and the guy still wasn't understanding what I was trying to explain to him, that it wasn't dangerous. It had to do on the TT HMs, that we had over in the water deal. So that came out. If y'all haven't gotten any calls, you will be. Yeah. So, all right, item number 10, discussion on contract for goods and services with John Shoemaker and Associates, Inc. for RFP number 2021-007P for hydrological water supply and water rights consultant services and task orders, RFP number 2021-007P-01, hydrologic, and I'm going to have to go and do my hydrological.
Geological.
Well, that was hydrologic. General Services RFP 2021-007 P-02, Water Rights and NMOSE hearings, and RFP 2021-007 P-3, hydrological. I can already see it now. I'm going to get so many texts from this one lady on how to phonetically pronounce this properly. Oh, I'm looking forward to them. Monitoring for $50,000, $25,000, and $50,000, including gross receipts tax, respectively.
So, Mayor Crawford, councilors, this would be the actual contract. So the last agenda item was the award. This is the contract that establishes the fee rates. And then with that, we have the three base task orders that we do with them annually for on-call services. So, again, we're looking forward to working with Roger again. The values are really similar to what we had last year. I just rounded them up to some nicer numbers. I think one was 49,000. I just bumped it up to 50,000. So
We'll go ahead and say it.
the hydrogeological.
Hydrogeological.
Yes.
I'm trying to cram it into one. Hydrogeological. Okay, thank you. Any questions?
I have,
Yes, ma'am.
in a nutshell, Eric, what does this get us? What does this consult, John Shoemaker and Associates, for the 50, 25, and 50?
So, Mayor Crawford, Councilor Lutterman, so what this does is Roger will help us evaluate if a pump and motor are starting to fail. He'll help us coordinate how our capital improvement process is going with our well field. We worked with them on a separate contract to build a water model for the area. And so this will be funding for them to run the water model. They do monthly monitoring to help us stay in compliant with the U.S. Forest Service Special Use Permit monitoring requirements. And then they also evaluate all of our aquifer trends and other issues so that we make sure that we're not negatively impacting the water aquifer with our pumping. And then if there's any, the water rights and hearings is just if there's any type of water right related issue where we need hydrogeological services to comply with the state engineer. So for instance, they would help us with our return flow reporting and some of our other regular reporting requirements for the OSE.
So we're just being proactive instead of reactive.
Yeah, so that's why, if you go back 5 years ago, there was less money in the services aspect and there was more money in the hearings. And so in my time here, we've been trying to get Roger in a spot where he's helping us manage wet water and not paper water. And so before it was really just about permitting but now we want to make sure that he's helping us maintain that system resiliency and appropriately manage our water.
Thanks, Eric.
Okay. You guys want this one consent or regular? Consent? Consent. Consent. Item number 11, discussion on task order RFP 2019-004 P-10 with River Bend Engineering, Inc. for Grindstone Canyon erosion control and wetlands in the amount of $24,479.00, including gross receipts tax. Yes, sir, Mr. Boyda.
Mayor Crawford, councilors, so if you remember from last meeting, you guys approved the allocation of the Grindstone Special Fund for the two watershed projects, one being the erosion control component around Grindstone Reservoir. So this would be to get Riverbend Engineering under, to help us design the structures But we're going to be installing the structures in-house with a combination of water utility staff and Parks and Recreation staff. So we won't have to develop a comprehensive bid package. He's just going to create the design, and then he's going to help us get started on the construction aspect. So he'll come and do some training for the types of structures, and then he'll come and inspect the structures afterwards to make sure that they were built correctly. So we're trying to especially for, you can call these structures soft structures. They don't need to be specifically at a certain elevation, and there's not, it's not like a water line or like a building where you have to build it to specific standards. These soft structures, we're trying to look at ways that we can save money and do these in-house versus having to contract them out.
And this is around the lake.
So this is around the lake and also below. So it's all of our property holdings in Grindstone Canyon that are being included in this process. So if you can think of that canyon that's going up towards Santa Anita, there's quite a bit of erosion issues there. And then also we're looking at some of the runoff that's coming from the stables. And so making sure that we can infiltrate that water in case if there's a high nutrient load from the horse stables there, we can capture it and soak it in before it goes into the creek and then it ultimately pumped back up in the reservoir.
Okay. Anything else? Consent, regular item?
Consent?
Consent. Okay. Item number 12, discussion on task order RFP 2019-004P-09 with River Bend Engineering, Inc. for Eagle Creek Sports Complex drainage in the amount of $21,234.12, including gross receipts tax. And I'm going to step out just a minute so y'all continue. And if I don't make it back for the next one, Councilor Cornelius, will you go on to the next one?
Okay. So Councilor Cornelius and other councilors, so this project is, I think it's kind of a cool project because it's Rodney Griego actually sharing money instead of the other way around. Last month, Rodney was presented the parking lot project for the Eagle Creek Sports Complex to the Lodgers Tax Committee and was able to secure funding for that. So this is a part of that paving project. This is to do stormwater infiltration at the sports complex. So, we have our surface water diversion that's just right downstream of the sports complex to the Alto Reservoir. And so it's important for us to develop some infiltration structures. When we pave that parking area, all of the oils and transmission fluid and other stuff could just flush directly into Eagle Creek and then down to our surface diversion. So this project, we're going to look at doing a subsurface infiltration structure. It's going to be kind of similar to like a septic tank disposal system that will help us infiltrate the stormwater underneath the ball fields. So this project would be similar in nature to the previous one that we discussed. We're going to have a hard construction design, but the actual trenching and installing the disposal field is going to happen in-house with Rodney's crew. So we'll probably pay for some of the material cost out of funds that are available to the Watershed Committee, and then some of the funds that are allocated from the water utility for the materials, but the actual construction will occur in-house.
Consent?
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 Yeah.
Can we withdraw number 25? Eric's going to be presenting on that one as well, that way we keep presenting together.
Okay, that's discussion on follow-up of rate studies and master plans. Go ahead, Eric.
So Councilor Cornelius and other councilors, so we met internally after our discussion that we had at the last council meeting about how to proceed with this combination of a master plan process and rate analysis. And so, we internally felt that it is important to have a CIP as a component of the rate analysis. In having this documentation is going to give us the most transparency to our citizens as rates are adjusted. But because there is substantial overlap, we do think that we can do the rate analysis and the master plan at the same time. So if you remember the presentation that I did, one of the components of both is looking at how is demand going to change over time and how do we make sure that our rate structure deals with that demand. And so we can do that demand analysis together, and then we can do the system evaluation and engineering to develop the CIP, and then come back and combine to create that rate analysis. So our thought process was to go out for an RFP where we wanted to look at having a certified planner come in so that we can make sure that this document, these master plans that are created, are actually accessible by the public and by you guys. We don't want it to be strictly a technical engineering document. And so what our thought process was is we would have a planner and a financial company that would partner together. Mm-hmm. They would be the top level. And then in this RFP, we would advertise for engineering firms to produce the 4 different master plan documents based on their specialties. So we would kind of force that partnership between the engineering firm and the planning company. But the planner would help make sure that we're staying in a consistent process as we're developing these 4 master plan documents. And, I kind of think that this is a good process because oftentimes, when you're creating documents like this, sometimes when you're working with an engineering firm, it's more that they're creating a future work plan for themselves. And there is potential for them to guide you towards stuff that their company specializes in. And they're kind of outlining their next 10 years of work. And so by having this process kind of driven by a planning firm that doesn't have the long-term investment, because they're not going to be doing the engineering work, is going to help make sure that the firms are producing the best product for us. And so, if you guys are agreeable to this process, we would start putting together a scope of work. I think that we have a kind of a general consensus of how to proceed with this. But we would probably be looking at making sure that we have the scope of work down and then possibly advertising in July. And so that would give us a couple months to actually prepare the scope of work.
Oh, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, Eric, I applaud you for that. I mean, that's extremely innovative, and it seems like it meets needs rather than wants. Mm-hmm. And the other thing about it that I like is you don't have someone guiding the ship from within, and that there's actually a governing body over those decision-making processes. I think the other discussion that we had before too was, and you've already touched on it, was finding those engineering firms that specialize in those specific areas. They're off, I think you gave us information before, and so did Tim, that many of them don't have a broad base of engineering expertise, but they do have specialized expertise. So it seems like this meets all the needs, and it really puts us in the driver's seat rather than being catching up on something that might become a lot of blue sky. I guess that's kind of where I got this. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. So, I kind of like the process of us being able to select the individual engineering firms rather than them coming to us as a partnership. We can select the best firms that would do the job for us.
Do you have a sense of how long this will take?
I would have to envision that this process would probably at least take a year.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that would be like the minimum of a year. So, and you have to realize too that with rate study and rate adjustments, there'll be public hearings, and so there could be for the water rate or the last water rate adjustment, it took 13 meetings. I don't think that it's going to take that long now, because that was a really substantial change.
Yeah.
But it could take several meetings to actually.
How long ago was that? I'm sorry if you've already answered that.
That was in 13, 14.
Yeah. Yeah, that was substantial. So the water rate stuff that we talked about a year or so ago, we haven't done anything on that?
That was a sewer rate discussion, and one of the problems with that was that it didn't have an appropriate CIP, and it was making a lot of assumptions. And so we think that it'd be better for us to look at these holistically and together, because we want to make sure that when we're doing rate changes, that we have a equitable distribution of these expenses. And then also, we want to make sure that we don't have an excessive impact to those people that have the least amount of money and are the most impacted by rate changes.
Right.
Because there is a possibility that with all this study that could rates increase?
It's
Yes.
definitely a possibility. So that's why, that's where it comes to having that transparency. We want to make sure that it's not, rates are being adjusted based off of what we're actually seeing and what our needs are.
I mean, we would like it to be going down, but I don't believe in magic. So I think that we just need to be totally transparent
Yeah.
with all of those.
That was 25, but you're on 17.
Well, y'all already went through,
No.
Mayor, on this item, we just want to have a discussion on this, and we'll probably come back in, I would say, June with a draft RFP. Is that correct, Eric? Is that
Yeah,
what kind of where we're
yeah.
at? So this won't appear on the next agenda item,
Okay.
unless you want us to cover some more discussion on this item so that, for transparency reasons, the public can hear it again.
what do y'all think?
I don't think so. I'd rather hear, when you bring it forward in June, that's, I think, when you'll have the gut of it, the
Okay.
information. 'Cause it sounds like it's fairly intricate.
Very. Okay. So y'all have already gone through 13, 14, 15?
No. We skipped to,
No, we're on
13.
13.
Okay.
He mentioned. And Eric has to go back to work now.
Thank you, Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
Okay, item number 13. So what was number 12?
Consent.
Consent? Okay. Discussion on agreement between the Village of Ruidoso and the Humane Society of Lincoln County for the operation of the animal shelter in the amount of $70,000. And this is the, back from the land of the eel and back in practice.
Still this.
Hello, Chief.
Hello, Mayor, Council, Mr. Dodge. Thank you for welcoming me back. I feel perfectly fine, and I feel like I never left, I think. But I'm back to normal, I guess. Item number 13 is the Humane Society of Lincoln County. As I indicated to Mr. Dodge and the mayor the other day, I was scheduled to have a meeting with the representatives of Humane Society, but didn't get that opportunity because of my COVID situation. So we had to reschedule it, and now our representative within our department is out for a couple of weeks now, so it's going to prolong that meeting to discuss their additional $10,000 that they're looking for. But as we spoke earlier, we'd like to just continue and get council approval for the agreement for $70,000 and bring up the rest of the stuff at a later time in a different meeting.
Well, later time will be another year. So what are we talking about, 10,000 difference?
Yes, they're asking for an additional $10,000 to their original 70 is what they're asking for right now.
Okay, because the comments that were made last time is that one of the officers, which one is it?
Bobby Simpson?
Bobby had done the numbers and said that we felt like we were paying too much, so we were just going to have that discussion, but we're talking about approving it.
Mayor, if I may, what I can do is I can, Ron and myself can meet with the individuals from ABLE, I believe is.
Abel?
And we could talk about this and we'll make a recommendation by then.
Okay, yeah, because we're getting ready to approve it. Everything's going up, But I know, like we talked last time, Purina used to donate a lot of dog food, and I know that goes away sometimes, and that's an increased cost. And so I'd just like to find out what it is. I'm sure they could use it.
Well, every year they typically ask for an additional amount. It's been like 7,000. They've wanted it for their spot program, and so forth. I would suggest that at the council meeting, we have somebody from the Humane Society come and give a report. We haven't heard from them directly in a long time, you know, and give us the numbers of how many animals from within the village that they've taken in and so forth. They used to do that like twice a year, and we haven't heard from them for quite a while. And that gives Abel a chance to come in and just let us know what's going on.
It seems to me during the pandemic too, that we've had a lot more animals, you know, being left places.
Well, there's also, if you watch Facebook, there's a lot of people that they don't keep their dogs on leashes or keep them penned up, and their dog, well, he normally comes back every day and he took off, and it's like, my God, people, keep your dogs under control, because then they're gonna get hit by a car, they're gonna get, you know, attacked in the wild, or what happens sometimes is somebody goes, oh, that's a cute dog, it's mine. And they collect it and take it to wherever, but yeah, there's been a lot of stuff happening.
I think we could hear from them, and then if you would still get the information, and that way you give us a staff recommendation.
Mayor, we'll do that, and we need to update this agenda memo also if they are requesting the additional 10.
Yeah.
So it's reflective of the request.
Yeah.
I think we gave them additional like 5,000 2 years ago when they were requesting 10 then also, an addition, and then.
And I know the spay and neutering program gets funded every so often.
They get it through PetSmart, I think.
Yeah, and then I know I've been getting phone calls from people that said that they're not able to do them because they're out of funding and they're waiting.
Right.
And so this may have something to do with it, but I would just like to find out, because I believe that spay and neutering, I know people that catch cats by the loads, and, you know, and there's a lot of adoptions, and so they go get them spayed, neutered, and turn them loose. And that does help help the community a lot. But I just would like to know what the breakdown is on those things, if you could. Let us know, because I think we can figure out the details on this without having to get Bobby or somebody back over there. Okay, so yeah, we'll put this one on regular. Discussion on memorandum of understanding between the Village of Ruidoso as fiscal agent for the Lincoln County Ruidoso DWI program and Region 9 for the part-time preventionist. Mr. Hanson, is that you, Chief? Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I'm doing the presentation for all of them on this workshop. It is pretty much the same as standard as you guys have been done. I've read it. I don't think there's any changes unless there's any questions from Mayor or Council.
No, I think, like I said last time, we're fortunate to have these folks that do all that.
Yes.
Okay, item number 15.
Consent?
What's that? Oh, consent, yes. Sorry. Discussion on memorandum of understanding between the Village of Ruidoso as fiscal agent for the Lincoln County Ruidoso DWI program and Linda Hand for prevention specialist services for the DWI prevention program.
Mayor, Council, again, this is another standard one that we used last time. Mr. Hanson, Bill Hanson has indicated that she is a sole source, and I'm sure it's in your packet that there's a sole source document that she's the only one that provides the services for this area. I did look into a little bit, considering the cost and trying to represent the village best we can, and everything seems good. There's really no questions or any red flags on any of these things, so with your permission.
I just have something that maybe Zach might want to take a look at. It is in the MOU, the third paragraph. It says, which the village wishes to utilize to employ Linda Han as a part-time preventionist, but yet it appears as though as you get down further, it talks about the rate per month plus inclusive of New Mexico GRT. So that's more of a contract. So rather than the word employ, because that could have different connotations, possibly negatively on the village. In the future, I would suggest that we change that word.
Got it.
What do you think, Zach?
I think that's a good call.
Okay.
There's that.
Okay, thank you. That'll be a consent item. Number 16, discussion on first renewal agreement between the Village of Ruidoso and Hanson Consulting for professional services for the Lincoln County DWI grant program.
Mayor, Council, again, I hate to be redundant, but that is another reoccurring contract that we've had in the past, and I don't see any red flags unless Zach has seen any.
Any other comments?
Consent.
Consent?
Consent.
Item number 17, discussion on memorandum of understanding between the Village of Ruidoso as fiscal agent for the Lincoln County Ruidoso DWI program and the City of Ruidoso Downs as the administrative authority for the Ruidoso Downs Police Department for DWI enforcement activities and reimbursements costs. More of the same.
All the same, all the way down to number 20.
Okay. If there's any other questions, comments, we'll consent that one. Number 18, discussion on memorandum of understanding between the Village of Ruidoso as the fiscal agent for the Lincoln County Ruidoso DWI program and the Village of Capitan and the administrative authority for Capitan Police Department for DWI enforcement activities and reimbursement costs. Consent?
Tell me it once again, why are we the fiscal agent for all of these?
Chief? Ron? Sounds like a paperwork issue, kind of.
Mayor Crawford, Councilor Lutterman, the way the DWI grant was set up, it's been many years ago, is the counties, the grants are awarded to the counties. And this is a second entity that I've worked with that the county didn't want to administer the DWI grant funds. So you do in that case, the municipality becomes a fiscal agent.
Okay.
It's a paperwork issue that the finance department has to handle and then work with Mr. Hanson and Mr.
So we get all of the money and then we distribute it?
Yes.
Got it.
And it's just to make sure that it's all done right. Number 19, discussion on memorandum of understanding between the Village of Ruidoso as fiscal agent for the Lincoln County Ruidoso DWI program in the town of Carrizozo as administrative authority for the Carrizozo Police Department for DWI enforcement and reimbursement costs. Consent?
Yep.
Consent. So do we get a fee for being fiscal agent off of this?
Nope.
Okay.
It's kind of like, well, you do get a little bit of a fee. How much did you get for that black eye? That is a doozy. Is Beth a lefty or what? I bet she is.
I cannot, there's legal.
Oh, so you can't confirm or deny?
Yeah, there's
No confirm or deny.
Leo in presence here.
Discussion on memorandum of understanding between the Village of Ruidoso as the fiscal agent for the Ruidoso County Ruidoso DWI program and the County of Lincoln as the administrative authority for the Lincoln County Sheriff's Department for the DWI enforcement activities and reimbursement costs. Okay. Item 21, discussion on memorandum of understanding between the Village of Ruidoso as the fiscal agent for Lincoln County Ruidoso DWI program and the Village of Ruidoso as the administrative authority for the Ruidoso Police Department for DWI enforcement and reimbursement costs. Consent? I'll tell you what, between now and I got to work on my geohydrological and my memorandum.
Just break it up into smaller words and say it together.
Yeah.
It's easier that way. It's kind of a compounded word. I don't know where they came up with it, but.
And then the memorandum always gets me too. It's some thick tongue and lips. Item number 22, discussion on subgrant agreement between the Village of Ruidoso as the fiscal agent for the Lincoln County Ruidoso DWI program and the Department of Public Safety, State of New Mexico, acting through the Grant Accountability and Compliance Section, GACS, for DWI enforcement and the reimbursement of costs. Consent. Item 23, discussion on award of RFP 2021-009P to Hub International for insurance broker services for the Village of Ruidoso. And this one goes to Karen.
Yes, good morning, Mayor, Council. This RFP was advertised in our normal 3 newspapers. We also advertised on our website. We had a total of 11 entities that drew down the RFP and 5 submissions, proposal submissions. So the evaluation committee met and evaluated the proposals and found that they would like to recommend that or Hub, that's what we call it. He's going to put HEB. Hub International will be the most responsive, and I would like to would like for you all to consider making that award.
Is this strictly on health insurance, or is this going to be also on our liability?
No, this is,
Mayor, councilors, this is only on our health and supplementals and
Okay.
vision and dental.
Okay. Any questions? They've been it for some time, and they still came out as the best. Okay, consent? Okay, and I just want to let y'all know, if you start getting phone calls from realtors, that they're not writing any new home insurance right now. You know that because of the fire. And so, I've talked to several insurance people, and they say, and the incident commander and whatnot, that, maybe in a week or two, that they'll be reissuing homeowners insurance. So all these people that are selling houses and the people buying houses, there's a little get hip at catching to get along right there. So there's ways around it, but
Even for Ruidoso?
yes, because the fire's right there, and if the wind changed and came this way. But it's like, you're not gonna, there's a hurricane coming on the Florida coast, they shut down all issuance because you don't know where. So hopefully we'll be out of that pretty quick. But anyway, you may be getting some phone calls and the mayor has no authority over, State Farm, he doesn't care. Allstate doesn't even take my phone calls. So I'm just letting you know, I'm not that powerful. We're not. We'd like to be, but we're not.
And we're not doing underwriting, I take it.
Yeah, we're not underwriting at this time. We've looked at it, but.
Robert doesn't do that.
Item number 24, discussion on T-Hanger lease agreement between the Village of Ruidoso, Sierra Blanca Regional Airport, and Allen Anderson for Bravo 7 T-Hanger beginning on May 1, 2021. Consent?
Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Good morning.
I'm going to help Joe out this morning. He's on vacation, but this is another one of the contracts that Zach has looked over. It's monthly with Mr. Sanderson to start May 1. All the same.
Okay. Consent?
Yeah.
And then we discussed the rate studies.
Yes.
We've already done that. What was that going to be on?
It's going to be withheld until June when they can come back with a formal request.
Presentation, okay.
Yeah, I think it'll be, I believe it'll be an RFP at that time, is that right?
Okay, good job. Okay, then we'll have closed session. Ron, what other items do you have listed?
Mayor Crawford, members of the council, some of the additional items that will be on the regular meeting. The first one is going to be the Open Meetings Act resolution. We're looking at moving the meetings to the Horton Complex, to the large meeting room.
In June?
Yes. So we'll be changing that to the correct address. I believe it's 237 Service Road. We just want to make sure we follow that, and then all the different boards and commissions will follow suit with that also.
Mayor, just for clarification, it's probably until September, October we'll be housed there.
And that's because we're going to start taking convention business in?
Yes, and Mayor, in the June meeting, I believe we should have in place the grant agreement from the state on the junior bill to do the additional construction. We do have the pricing to do the, flooring in the council chambers and the rest of the building and painting and things of that nature. So we intend to bring that forward to, refresh those buildings as well.
And everybody will be so happy when it's done. Oh, it's very,
And you're talking about at Village of Ruidoso.
yeah, Village Hall.
Yes.
So were you going to set us up, Jeffrey, just in that main room where we vote?
Mayor, councilors, yes, sir, at the conference room over there. I went and checked the internet speed yesterday over there. It's way better than here. So we will have no problems. One thing is, we'll have to get Pace Audio down here to make a move. And they want to get on the calendar pretty quick because theirs is filling up.
I don't doubt it. Okay, well, we need to get them on the calendar.
And Mayor Crawford, members of the council, and we do have a public hearing scheduled for June 8th here at the convention center on a transfer of 2 liquor licenses. So that'll continue on with that, so, because those are so far in advance in order to publish those.
Is that going to be Sacred Grounds or Will?
That is correct.
Who else? Both of them?
He has both, yes.
Okay.
Marion, it's going to be a little tricky on that day, and we, because of the public hearings having to be scheduled, the Beef Association, which one is it?
The Cattlemen's Association.
Yes, Cattlemen's Association is having their conference, so we're going to have, a breakout room just for like an hour, and then, they agreed to let us come in, do what we need to do, and get out. That'd also be a regular meeting, so, just because of the publication, it's kind of a little bit awkward, but we're trying to accommodate.
So June, we're still going to be here?
No, May.
May,
The special meeting will still be here.
Yeah, just for that one agenda item that Ron published the public hearings for.
Is it May 8th, Ron?
June the 8th.
Oh, it's June 8th. It
Yes.
is in June.
Yes.
So then do we go from here over there for the rest of the meeting?
I believe that's the plan.
Okay, because we'd already publicized it, they said.
Got it.
So we'll have it in one of these little rooms or somewhere.
We scheduled the public hearing for 1 o'clock, so we'll have to have it at the 1 o'clock time.
So 1, and then we have recess and then go over to the other building.
Yes, we'll work all the logistics out. It's going to be a little confusing on that, so.
I can drive a shuttle.
But when you have to post the public, you have to do that. I mean, it's like 60 days in advance, and and those are really, the time constraints are really critical. So
Are we going to be able to have the technology set up in 2 places for that?
No.
Because if we're having a public hearing here, that has to be open to the public.
I think we can very easily accommodate doing the meeting from here with just minimal equipment, and then, we'll have the permanent stuff set up over there.
So let me ask you this, now that we're opening up, do we still have to stream it via Zoom? Or can that special meeting, that public hearing just be an in-person if somebody wants to come in for that?
I don't know. We haven't got anything out of the Attorney General's office yet, but.
Yeah, from my understanding, if we can reach that 60% vaccination by July 1 is when the governor would open up everything, so.
But we've been having meetings with people in attendance.
Yeah, that's
So
because the mass gathering allowance for that.
Right, so then could we, for that public hearing, just have that, if anybody has anything to say for or against, they come to that meeting, we don't have to.
Because of the limitations, I would still recommend streaming it.
But I thought, what is the limitations now?
250 for mass gathering, right? Or a certain percentage of the room, if you have enough space.
Until it's completely open, that, I don't believe that.
But see, he's saying we're supposed to be, one of our gating criteria is 60% vaccination rate. I don't think we're going to get there. I think everybody's vaccinated is already vaccinated, but that's just me. But he's saying that's when we're supposed to go fully open, is once we get to that 60% and when the other criteria. So I think we're going to be in turquoise until.
But with turquoise, that's 250?
On mass gatherings, but would this be a mass gathering? Or would this?
That's the category these meetings have fallen into in the past.
But I don't understand, if we're going to open up the convention center and let people in, why can't we have
Because they're already here. See, the Cattlemen's is here, and we're going to borrow a room because we publicized the public comment deal, but we'd already booked Cattlemen's. And so we were going to move it, but we can't get it in the paper and everything because it's a 60-day notification. So we're kind of cramping it in there. They're going to say, okay, we're not going to use, I imagine it's going to be one of these rooms over here, isn't it, Ron? Or is it going to be?
I believe so.
Yes.
So it'll be a
One of
small one,
those
so we
smaller
can't get
rooms.
250 in there.
But in all my time on the council, whenever we have a beer and wine license come up, we have not had a single person,
Except the person that
except the
might want to come
person
in.
applying.
Yeah, it won't take this long, but I think if we just have it over there, and how hard is it gonna be to shoot one person? You can do it off your phone and YouTube it.
Yeah, I mean, it's simple to stream. It's take the high road and just stream and.
Yeah, that way we cover all the bases until we get to 60%, because that's in July. Is when she's,
I would recommend that as we move forward that we stream meetings, just.
well, I mean, we've had that request several times. Remember, we were talking about going, they did it on cable years ago, and then doing it, but the cameras back then, going to, like they're doing now, they'll focus on the person talking. And that technology was way expensive, and we've been able to acquire it through the CARES Act, so.
But as a public hearing, aren't we allowing people to speak via Zoom?
Uh-huh.
So if we do it with a phone, are we gonna have the sound system that we can all hear that?
We don't have to do it with a phone. We can,
call in.
laptops or whatever. We can accommodate it.
Yeah.
It's not that big of a deal to accommodate.
Yes, sir, Jeffrey?
Councilor Coughlin, I can do it with a laptop and a webcam, just like we used to do over at the, before we moved here, before we got all this equipment. It's no problem whatsoever.
Okay.
We can use those little speakers.
Or we could all sit there, log into the same Zoom meeting in case somebody should happen to have something they wanna say about it.
It would be the one time, yeah. Go ahead, Ron.
Okay. On our, right now, we also have under consent, it'll be approval of the governing body minutes, April 13th, April 27th. We'll have an adoption of resolution. This resolution is going to be amending the ordinance 2014-6. This is a personnel policy. We're making some changes, some amendments. This regarding position and pay, compensation policy, pay merit increases, one-time merit performance pay, and probation increases, cost of living adjustments, et cetera, and service credit pay. We'll have a discussion on that, so.
Mayor, the changes on that are in line with what we discussed during the budget hearings. I've actually prepared some spreadsheets and some that you can actually see how it's going to work. If the council has an opportunity, if you could come by the office, I'll show you exactly how that compensation process works.
Okay.
And, within that, we talked about phasing out the 5% 5-year service credit and going with an annual. So I built a spreadsheet that works with the pay plan to ensure that long-term, we're going to be staying within those pay bands for each employee. So we're demonstrating it yesterday afternoon, but if anybody's interested in seeing it, we can show you how that tool's going to work.
Okay.
So if you want to come by the office, we can sit down, and then we'll have that information for you with the resolution. As we move forward, every single job description will have that pay and step plan. And when we hire a person, you'll see exactly where they're being brought in, and then they can see, what their potential for earnings going into the future in that position are. So.
Tim?
The next item will be from Samantha, is a scheduled public hearing. This is an ordinance amending the Village of Ruidoso Municipal Code of Ordinances, Chapter 54. So she'll have that on the agenda. We'll have introduction of new Village Ruidoso employees, the manager's report. We'll have, under public hearings, we'll have a quasi-judicial public hearing, a final development plan to operate outdoor recreational activities. This is on the James Townsend track, 1A, located at 525 Resort Drive. And then we'll have approval of a new restaurant beer and wine license. And this is over at the J Bar S Wit, known as Wit's Branding Iron.
Mayor, before we move on too quick, on the manager's report, is there anything specific that the council would like to hear about? One of the things that we have done is we've applied for an outdoor recreation grant, and Samantha, Rodney, Jasmine have been working on Lincoln County tour concept.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that would probably be important for us to report on. Is there anything addition that you'd like us to bring up?
I'd like to hear how we're doing as far as our summer plans go with the lake and staffing and operating the Whibbit and the pool and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, and the Whibbit's actually going to be being set up that day, so.
And you know, it's not the whole Whibbit.
It's a downsize, right?
Yes,
It's just a cube, what do you call it, iceberg or whatever,
Yeah.
and then a slide.
Okay, no, I wasn't aware of that, but
Yeah.
given what I'm seeing, the difficulties in getting staffing, that makes sense.
Mayor, and you know, I know that, is Rodney on? We can give you a quick update on that. It's a discussion. We actually.
Manager Dodge.
On some of the hires, so, that have been trained. Go ahead, Rodney.
I actually stepped out of the office for a minute. If you can clarify or what I need to address.
Can you talk about the Whibbit operations, the grindstone, the pool, and how we're doing on employment, hires and training?
Okay. So we have implemented the entire process for opening the Whibbit and the pool in anticipation of moving through the different levels. And so what we have done for the Whibbit in particular is we have scaled back the footprint of the Whibbit. We're going to only include a couple of the features that were previously installed, and we're going to add the two independent structures, which is one is a slide and one is an iceberg. We're anticipating the capacity for those 4 items to be around 40 persons, which is roughly about half of what we had the first season. So the swimming pool is on track to be opened for Memorial Day weekend. As far as the maintenance and preparation, we have been preparing the pool for paint, which includes a lot of grinding and removing of chipped and old concrete and paint. They're planning on painting the surface starting, well, they were supposed to start yesterday. I'm not sure if they ever got started, but they will be painting the pool surface to this week. Again, we're on track to meet that. We try to have it ready 2 weeks prior to Memorial Weekend so we can get our inspections from the Environment Department. As far as staffing goes for both the Whibbit and the pool, we share staffing per se. We have trained 9 guards at this point, and we have 8 guards in the process of being trained. And so our goal is to have 20 lifeguard positions filled. And so we are at 18 now, either certified or in training. We have opened up the cashier positions for both locations. We have begun to receive applications for those. We have not hired any at this point, but we have again started to receive applications. We are also in the process of working with the state for inspections and for the Whibbit as well. Staff is actually out on the lake today removing the old or the previously installed anchors for the Whibbit. Those will be reused and placed in the new location, which has the adequate water depth. We have scheduled a date for the installation of the Whibbit with the state police dive team on May 13th and 14th, which is next Thursday and Friday. Everything seems to be on track. We have initiated the discussions with ENMU regarding the incentive programs and the training. through ENMU for the students. We're trying to incorporate some flexibility into that schedule to accommodate the student schedules. So far, everything has going as expected. And I'll entertain any questions that y'all may have about anything that I discussed or may have missed.
Rodney, can you just talk a little bit more about the incentive program, just to refresh everybody's memory?
So the incentive program in cooperation with ENMU is we provide classes or instructions on financial management, good work ethics, customer service, information relative to tourism in Ruidoso, and try to not only educate them and provide some good job development opportunities, and in turn, what we do with those students is as they achieve a certain level of attendance in those classes with satisfactory participation and as well as satisfactory job performance, the program includes a $1 incentive for every hour worked that season. And so between the two programs, we expect to keep them pretty busy. We also use those employees to assist with some of the parking responsibilities as well. And then this summer we expect to have a full schedule of programming, including some youth and adult sports and events in Wingfield Park, and we'll also utilize them and as well as support staff for those programs. But we've had some, when we ran the program the first year, we had some really good response, not only from those students, but we had a few Village of Ruidoso employees take advantage of that training as well. And it was really helpful, especially with the customer service and the tourism related information for Ruidoso.
Okay, anything else?
Mayor Crawford, members of the council, one other item I did request is Administrative Office of the Courts to provide an update on the magistrate court building. So I'm planning on having them also.
Okay, that's good. And just FYI, we swore in Judge Potter on Monday morning. So he thought he was going to have a light day and have 3, and then it went to 12 cases that day.
Wow.
So anyway, that's where we're at. Anything else, Ron?
Thank you.
And we may have one more with a hanger. Zach and I've been talking with these guys about doing a modification and an extension on a hanger that's out there. And so I'll be working with Zach and we'll have time to get it on the agenda. Sure. Okay. Anything else? When is the date that we're going to be, all the police chiefs will be here, or the candidates?
On the 12th, they'll be arriving. On the 13th,
This is of May, so.
Cassandra has contacted several of the counselors. We have 3 different interview panels set up. There won't be a quorum, will be set up in different areas. And then they have some practical tests that they would be doing. And then that evening, we'll have the meet and greet, and then they leave on the 14th.
Okay. So initially, we'll have something to eat here with them.
When they arrive, we have some of the staff, yourself, and then, that evening when they come in, there's going to be some pizza.
And then we'll do a meet and greet that evening?
The meet and greet will be on the 13th.
On the 13th, and that'll be where at?
I'll have to get with Cassandra. I'm not too sure. Is she on, or Cheryl? Cheryl, have you guys, where's the meet and greet gonna be at? Have you guys figured out that logistics? We'll get that information out there.
Mayor Crawford, members of the council, I had one more item is, we'll be having a special meeting sometime this month on the adoption of the budget, so just wanted to give everyone a heads up on that. We'll be scheduling that once Judy has everything ready and prepared, and I'll contact each one and get the date set, so.
All right, so I just want everybody to put on their calendar for the 13th. Okay? Anything else? No? Okay, I
We
think,
do have executive session today.
yeah, oh, we do have.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that's all that'll be on there. So if we can have a motion to move into executive session, I would appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor, move that we move into executive closed session for discussion of limited personnel matters, statute 1015-1H2, NMSA 1978, and discussion subject to the attorney-client privilege pertaining to threatened or pending litigation in which the Village of Ruidoso is or may become a participant, statute 1015-1H7, NMSA 1978. Any action taken as a result of the closed session will be brought back into open session.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Roll call, please, sir.
Counselor Jackson? Counselor Letterman?
Aye.
Counselor Eby? Counselor Cornelius?
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Is there any staff that needs to stay